Hello everyone, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. Now I know previously I have stated that I would not be making any more videos on this drama, however, I am deciding to pull a Disney here. Now I guarantee you this will for certain be the last one. It's just that I saw this video and well, couldn't really help myself. Yes, you could say I'm taking the bait, but at the end of the day, it is easy content. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the context, this is going to be a response to Nier's response, to my response, to Nier's response, to my response, to Thunderstruck's response, to the Actman's video. Now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself that this sounds like a bunch of speds screaming at each other, well, you wouldn't be too far off. This drama is pretty stupid after all. This whole thing really started with me calling Thunderstruck a retard with his take on the Actman's video, which I will fully admit, that video turned out like dog shit. I honestly could have done way better on that video, but most of the points I do still stand by. Now I know a subset of you watching this video are going to be a little displeased with that, so to speak, but like I said previously, cope and seethe. But back to what I was saying, Brother Nier, formerly known as Nier Fanboy, decided to make a live stream response to my, what some would call subpar video on Thunderstruck, which I will admit, there are a few things I got wrong in there, which is why I didn't respond to them in my original response to Brother Nier. Now with me saying that, all you Nier fanboys watching, you can go ahead and set down your pitchforks here, at least for now that is. I'll let you know when to raise them again, or alternatively, you might want to raise them after what I'm about to say, but this is honestly one of the most hypocritical videos I've seen so far, at least within recent memory on this platform known as YouTube.com. Now I will say, the video was indeed well put together, but unfortunately, it's about all the compliments I have going towards your video right now. Now originally I was going to make a response to Thunderstruck, then I thought I'd wait a little bit after I heard you were making a response. Then your boyfriend made a response, and well, I was really tempted to make a response there. And you know what? I decided to wait a little longer, and lo and behold, I think I found the worst response to me, other than this one guy that is so desperate for me to respond to him. And to those of you asking why I don't make a response to him, well, it's funnier watching him screech into the void. Now back to Nier's video, and honestly, for someone trying to call me out for quote straw manning and cutting clips out of context or cutting them too early, you really do seem to be doing the exact thing you're trying to criticize me for. Now am I really that pressed about it? No, not really. It's just stupid YouTube drama at the end of the day, but it sure is funny to watch, that's for damn sure. Now since you're going to be hearing my voice a lot in this video, present me and past me, I'll go ahead and make it easier for y'all watching. And yes, Nier, you did have a little influence on this with your community posts, but when you'll be hearing my voice from present me, as in the one recording this video right now, there will be a little image of me in the bottom right. Now my face will not be shown, however, I will have a helmet on, so I hope it makes it a little easier for y'all watching. Now this intro has definitely been going on for long enough, so this is definitely going to be a long one after all, so go ahead and sit back, relax. Honestly, you might have time to even grab a 3-course meal before this video's over. But with that all being said, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into this absolutely petty drama.
Hello, my fellow clout givers. I am here to sincerely apologize to this man named Krilix. He has made a video on me exposing me for criticizing the Actman. And I gotta say, I am really, really sorry, Krilix. I am so sorry that your video is so fucking bad that it made me contract terminal AIDS. You thought I was actually going to bend the knee there.
Damn man, really got me there, you know? Here I was thinking it was going to be an apology video, but instead, I was backstabbed, and now, it turns out it was just a video exposing me. How truly disappointing.
What you are about to witness is an Actman stan white knighting for their favorite YouTuber so hard that they self-admittedly did not do any research on the Actman's video.
Ah yes, I am such an Actman stan that, you know, I didn't even watch his video. But to address this whole thing that people love to bring up, the reason I had no desire to watch the Actman's video is because 1, I really didn't want to waste any more time than I already had on YouTube, and 2, I was responding to Thunderstruck, not the Actman, so anything Thunderstruck neglected to include within his video is completely on him. And 3, the Actman did say some things that I disagreed with, within Thunderstruck's video even. However, once again, I was responding to Thunderstruck, not the Actman. Now would it have hurt me to actually watch the Actman's original video? No, but at the same time, me watching it would not have changed my mind.
And argues in bad faith so that he could find any reason to claim Actman's in the right. I tried drilling it into Krilix that the reason why the Actman has been getting so much flack is because of how inconsistent his video is and that he got many things factually incorrect, but after I give more detail via livestream on how this is the case and how Krilix is just jumping the gun to defend his favorite YouTuber, he makes a response towards me that is undeniably the most blind defense ever made that I've witnessed in our community thus far. I thought Mayo stands were bad, but this guy tops them by a long mile.
ironic you trying to say that he got things factually wrong, which I will agree, he did get things factually wrong, but it's ironic you trying to criticize him of that when you yourself get things factually wrong in this video about me. Also, side note here, I don't know if you could tell, but most of my response video to you is me defending myself, not the Act Man, but you keep rolling with that.
As I explained in my community post regarding his response, there are very clear straw man arguments being made here, and some of the shit this guy pulls is extremely manipulative, like cutting out important context in order to try and invalidate my points. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and go through this absolute abortion of a response.
You know, it really is ironic you trying to criticize me for cutting clips too early when you do that very same thing yourself in this video. Oh, and I just want to point out that if you're trying to say I strawmanned in this video a lot, well, you definitely did it way more than I did. And no, for you brainlets out there, that's not an admission of guilt. I stand by the fact that I did not strawman anything within this video. Hello everyone, how's it going? I hope y'all are doing well. Now this isn't going to be some stupid apology video, as I frankly don't have anything to apologize for.
Right off the bat, when watching this guy's content, I can tell that he has a superiority complex. He acts like he's done absolutely nothing wrong here, despite the fact he blatantly admitted in the comments of his video on Thunderstruck that he did absolutely no research on this topic. And so he has no idea on why Actman is getting criticized to begin with. Yet he'll go on to be Actman's White Knight despite all of the inaccuracies and false information he spreads. Oh, and considering all of the awful points he makes in this video, I guarantee I can find several things that this motherfucker will need to apologize for.
Now there, Nier. You seem to be getting a little heated, and at least from what you've said about me, you don't seem to like that too much, so I want to cool it down a little bit before you get accused of being an alcoholic. But to address what you said, if you really think that I'm going to apologize over video games of all things, you, my friend, are sorely mistaken.
But I highly doubt that he will go through with it, cause he has too much alcohol in his system to even come up with the concept of being wrong.
Unfortunately for you, I already admitted that I got some things wrong in this video and even in the one that you're watching now, so argument kind of falls flat on its face, doesn't it? Now, in case you were unaware, this is a follow-up video from my previous video I made on Thunderstruck 115's response to the Act Man. Now, as it turns out, there were quite a few individuals that were displeased, so to speak, with the way I responded to his video. Now, this is going to be a response to someone by the name of Brother Nier 2.0 in his live stream. Now, there are others that made responses, but frankly, I can't be bothered to make more than one of these videos. Now, before I start, there are a few things, very minor things that I got wrong, such as Nintendo 64 having a Wolfenstein release, but those things are so minor that there's no real reason for me to include them into this video.
I'm sorry, what? That's a major fucking issue there. That's straight up an entirely made up game that just sparked from your brain. That's a minor mistake on your part?
Well, first of all, if getting the release platform for a video game wrong is a major mistake, well, I'm very curious as to what kind of mistakes you've made in your videos, but besides that, where's the same energy for Thunderstruck? I mean, he also got the release platform of games wrong, so where's the same energy for him?
Nah, bro. That's major false information that you just spread.
Once again, where was that same energy for Thunderstruck on your live stream? Or are you playing double standards now? Nah, that couldn't be it. You could never be hypocritical. But if you truly believe that a minor slip-up like that is, quote, major false information, I'm curious to hear what isn't major false information to you.
I guarantee you, if I go ask any of my family members that play video games that are older than me and that don't play video games religiously, they can't tell me what an arena shooter is. Of course, I go ask my friends that play said game. That's an anecdotal statement. Entirely anecdotal. That does not mean the genre is irrelevant. That was Thunderstruck's point.
Alright, what would you like me to do then? Would you like me to go into the street and interview random people on what they think an arena shooter is?
Literally nobody asked you to. You are taking our points and putting them to the extreme in order to make us look stupid, and it's really not working on us.
Now, while I am fully aware no one asked me to do that, you said that my statement was entirely anecdotal, which it was, but because of that, it was invalid. Therefore, meaning that in order for my statement to not be invalid, that I would have to go get a random-sized pool of people, would I not? Didn't you yourself state later in this video that there is subtlety in conversation?
The whole point we're trying to make is that you are making an anecdotal statement when saying your friends can't define what an arena shooter is. Why don't you do your own damn research on the topic, see how much of an audience this genre has, and realize the difference between something being dead and something not being mainstream? Because this whole entire time, you conflate the two in order to create this false narrative that no one cares about this genre.
A couple things here. In order for my statement to not be anecdotal, anecdotal. I would have to go interview random people, would I not? Secondly, in order for a game genre to be dead, it most certainly cannot be mainstream, so that only further contributes to my argument of the game genre being dead. And third of all, I have seen how much of an audience this game has. Video games are an active form of content, therefore meaning in order to be an actively consuming or actively participating audience member of said arena shooter genre, would you not have to be playing said games? Of course, you could take hiatuses and you could take breaks, but I would argue that you are leaving that audience for a short period of time, are you not? And just to clarify, by actively playing a game, I do not mean playing every waking hour of the day. I simply mean playing around maybe once a week or so, something around that area. Now, of course, there could be exceptions, such as someone taking a vacation away from their setup or whatever, but back to what I was saying. If you look at games like Proteus, like Dusk, and like Quake Champions, just to clarify, once again, I'm talking about multiplayer here. Those games have extremely low player counts, do they not? Would it not be fair to argue that if a game cannot even get 1,000 players, on average, on the daily, that the game is relatively dead, is it not? At least compared to almost every other shooter that isn't even mainstream. For example, Titanfall 2 is a pretty irrelevant game nowadays. You don't really hear many people talking about it, at least nowadays. But even Titanfall 2, a game that servers have been DDoS to high heavens, and that is really only playable through the North Star client, at least last that I checked. Even that game has on average of 1,000 to 3,000 players playing at any given day. But that is a much higher player count than Quake Champions, Proteus, or Dusk. And these are games you guys love to bring up. You love holding these up as your shining stars of popular arena shooters that have multiplayer. If these are your shining stars, then I hate to break it to you, but the arena shooter genre, when it comes to multiplayer, is at the very least dying. And some, if not most people, would say that the genre is most certainly dead. Now, could this change with a new game's release? Of course, the game genre could come back, but as things stand right now, it's dead.
Which is precisely the same reason why the Actman has been getting criticized. You of all people would have known this if you actually bothered to do the bare minimum and research the Actman's video, or even looked up responses to his video that disprove his points.
How do you think I stumbled upon Thunderstruck 115's video? I was actively looking for people criticizing the Actman. It just so happened that the video I clicked on was pretty bad. You know, how about you actually step outside and go ask normal people, not your friends that stay on YouTube all day. Just go ask normal people.
Ah yes, because people that have knowledge on the arena shooter genre are most certainly not normal people.
Oh, and here you are trying to claim I was strawmanning. But I never stated that. You can be a normal person and have knowledge on the arena shooter genre, but you're going to be in the minority of normal people. Now, do I have concrete evidence to back this up? No. Why? Because I'm not going to go out and do a survey. But if I did, I guarantee you the results would be heavily in my favor.
Like, what the fuck does this guy classify as normal people here?
Well, to answer your question here, it's very simple. Someone who isn't on YouTube all day, someone who isn't on Discord all day, and someone who isn't playing video games all day. Requirements you seem to fail.
You really need to provide a better argument rather than just generalizing a specific audience and disregarding them because they aren't quote-unquote normal people to you. Oh, and P.S. I probably went outside more for the past 3 months than you ever have in your life.
Damn, you know, really got me there. You know, secretly, I really am just a basement-dwelling retard who is terminally online. What can I say? He exposed me.
You can't tell me otherwise when you're the resident alcoholic here.
I just find it funny that not only are you reusing the same joke multiple times in this video, but y'all are saying I'm an alcoholic because I called someone retarded. Never mind that I'm not even 18 at the time of this recording, but it's just funny to watch. Because personally, I'm not going to put in the effort to go interview 50 random people off the street to see if they can identify what an arena shooter is.
You could also apply that same logic to genres such as MOBAs, ARPGs, and RTS games. I bet you those quote-unquote normal people aren't going to know what those are either.
Probably not. I don't even know what a fucking MOBA is. Pretty sure League of Legends is a MOBA, but you try and ask me to define what a MOBA is, I have no fucking clue. Most probably because I've never played one, but yeah, no fucking clue what a MOBA is.
With me, they're able to tell me what it is because they fucking play with me. But most normal people cannot define an arena shooter. And that's because they're so irrelevant nowadays, with the exception of Doom. Hell, even you yourself when it comes to the single.
Are we gonna ignore Quake now?
When the newest Quake entry can't even get 1,000 players, yeah, Quake multiplayer is irrelevant right now.
I'm not talking about how many people are playing Quake right now. I'm talking about the popularity of the title. How many people out there know what Quake is? How many people know what Doom is? How many people know what Proteus, Dusk, Duke Nukem, and any other arena shooter out there? Your original point in response to Thunderstruck is that no one can define an arena shooter title with the exception of Doom, which is why I pointed out Quake on stream.
You know, I actually just went back and watched the first 10 minutes of my Thunderstruck response video to see if I could find where I said that, and lo and behold, I never made that point. Now, I said that arena shooters with the exception of Doom are irrelevant, but I never said people can only name Doom. But back to your original point, video games are meant to be played. If people are not playing a video game, then that video game is no longer popular. Just because a game has notoriety and is well known does not mean the game is popular. It just means the game is well known. There's a difference between the two. Once again, as an example, Titanfall 2, a game very well known with a lot of notoriety, but once again, not very popular today. If we use your same logic, anything that has had notoriety in the past cannot be irrelevant in today's world, which you and I both know is flat out wrong.
But now you're shifting the goalpost to say that Quake is irrelevant because the newest installment can barely scratch 1,000 players, when that wasn't the original point being addressed here. Are we going to ignore Quake? Are we going to ignore Unreal Tournament? Because those are pretty popular. Are they alive? I don't know, I don't play them.
My guy, if you don't even know if they're alive or dead or not, why the fuck are you even bringing them up?
Because the point is people know what these games are. Whether their active player base is small or not is irrelevant when the point I'm trying to make is that people know what Unreal Tournament is. The entire basis of my point can be summed up with one word: notoriety.
Genuine question here. Do you think notoriety and popularity are the same thing? Because I guarantee you they're not. You said that Unreal Tournament and Quake are popular today, which they're not. At least from what I've seen, you can't even buy the newest Unreal Tournament anymore because it's been delisted. If a game can't even get 1,000 players, it's no longer popular. It may be well known and may have a lot of notoriety, but the game is no longer popular.
I know you never heard of Dusk or Proteus before any of this, but just because you don't know them or that their player bases are not as active as the mainstream games doesn't mean they don't exist or are irrelevant.
I didn't say they didn't exist. I did say they were irrelevant though, and if a game can't get more than 50 players, yeah, it's irrelevant.
If Dusk was so irrelevant like you love to claim, then how come when I go to New Blood's Discord, there are hundreds of people talking about Dusk to this day? That tells me that the game has an audience, regardless if you want to call it irrelevant or dead.
I don't think you could have gotten a more biased pool of evidence there. Of course, if you go to the game's developers Discord, there's going to be people talking about that game. That's why they're there. That proves nothing.
Proteus has that same audience as well, with hundreds of people using it for its level editor. And before you say this has nothing to do with multiplayer, yes it does. People create deathmatch arenas in Proteus's level editor as well. Stop perpetuating the stigma that Actman claims is sad over.
I never even hinted that a level editor has nothing to do with multiplayer, considering I already acknowledged the fact that you can make multiplayer levels with the level editor in both Proteus and Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo Reach, Halo 5, Halo Infinite, Doom Snap Map. Unfortunately, it's not in Doom Eternal anymore, sadly missed, but yeah, I would never even hinted at claiming that that has nothing to do with multiplayer.
Also, unless your friend just doesn't really follow gaming that closely, I highly doubt that he doesn't know of any arena shooters, especially considering that, Doom Eternal is a thing.
That's the thing though, most people do not follow gaming closely, they play the few games they link. Source?
You know, if you stepped outside, went into the real world and interacted with real normal people, you would see plain as day my fucking source.
That's right everyone, Krilix said his source is to go outside. Therefore, he's perfectly valid in saying that arena shooters are dead.
First of all, I understand that you stepping outside might be a little hard for you, but I implore you to try it. Second of all, I said to step outside and ask people if they follow gaming news closely. Not that I'm 100% right because I told you to step outside. That is another one for the straw man counter.
So, Max Soar's input on arena shooters doesn't matter, neither does Cat Bombs, Civi 11's, Gianni Matragrano, That Trav Guy, Mandalore Gaming, G-Man Lives, Mr. John Reviews. Hell, let's throw Under the Mayo in there.
I understand that you think this was a gotcha moment, but I've only heard of 2 of those YouTubers on there, Under the Mayo and G-Man Lives, and the only reason I've ever heard about them was at the launch of Doom Eternal. I've never seen a single video on any of them after the fact. So your quote-unquote gotcha moment here is completely null and void by the fact that I've never heard of most of those YouTubers you just named.
I guess none of those guys' input matters because Krilix said we just need to go outside and find out for ourselves if quote-unquote normal people know what arena shooters are. I'm sorry, but if that's the only argument you have to support your claim on how the genre is dying or dead, then you have to be an idiot. There's no other way around it.
You know, that wasn't my only argument. I said a lot more on top of that. Once again, another one for the straw man counter.
What kind of perspective are you talking about here? What is this perspective you're going for? A lot of people don't follow gaming that closely. Okay, what kind of people are you talking about here?
Do you have short-term memory loss? I literally just fucking stated I'm talking about from the perspective of a normal person. A normal person.
That doesn't tell me anything. What are these normal people in question?
Like I said earlier, people who don't sit on Discord all day, people who don't sit on YouTube all day, and people who don't sit around playing video games all day. Of course, there's more qualifying factors, but in this situation, I feel like those three are the most important.
And if they by chance know about arena shooters like Quake, what's your argument then? Are they suddenly not normal people now?
Then they are just a normal person who knows about arena shooters. There's no argument to be had there.
Like, if you really have to try this hard to prove how this genre is dead, then you're straight up pathetic.
If you really have to try this hard to prove that arena shooters aren't dead, then that's fucking pathetic.
Playing whether it be FIFA, Call of Duty, Forza, whatever it may be. But that's about how. What do those games have to do with the genre or the topic at hand here? Are you fucking retarded? What do Forza or FIFA or whatever the fuck have to do with arena shooters? What? So because people play games like Forza or FIFA or look into games like that, that somehow means they don't look into games like Doom or Quake anymore?
Mind pointing out where the fuck I said that? Because nowhere throughout that clip did I even fucking hint at that. I stated people play the games they enjoy, and that's about it. Most people do not dive into the deep gaming news side of things. They just play the games they enjoy, and that's about it.
Okay, but one, arena shooters are not this obscure. I don't know where you're getting this idea from.
No, the arena shooter genre itself is not that obscure. But a game like Proteus, that's a pretty obscure game, my friend. I was stating that the games themselves are obscure, not the entire genre. Once again, another one for the straw man counter.
But arena shooters are very well known despite not being in the mainstream. Stop conflating that by saying the genre's dead.
Well, guess what? If we're talking about multiplayer, with maybe the exception of Halo, the genre's dead.
And two, just because people like to play games they enjoy does not mean they won't enjoy arena shooters. That's inherently subjective.
I never made that argument. I don't know where you're getting this from. You must have watched a completely different video. But I never even tried making that argument. Once again, another one for the straw man counter. I hoped that someone with a room temperature IQ would at least be able to understand that, but I guess I was fucking wrong.
You know, it's really telling of your character when you can't go one response session without throwing an insult. Not only does it make me take you even less seriously, but it also tells me you're easy to aggravate.
Ooh, watch out, we got a psychic here, but bro, say whatever the fuck you want. It's all for a joke. It's stupid internet beef. If you're taking it that seriously, then that says more about you than it does me.
Which is a pretty common pattern for alcoholics.
You know, I really don't think the joke was funny the first few times you said that. I think you're gonna need to say it a few more times for it to really be funny, you know?
Though developers have tried to revitalize the arena shooter genre, it seems none have really been successful. Oh, none have been successful besides, Wolfenstein: The New Order, Proteus, Dusk, Ultrakill, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal.
Holy shit, my fucking ears. Loud does not equal funny. Please, subjective. Keep that in mind to address your points. I've never heard of Dusk or fucking Proteus. I play arena. You're living under a rock then.
How am I the one living under a rock? Dusk at its all-time high had 557 active players. Now it can barely reach 200, and Proteus can barely even reach 50 fucking players. How am I the one living under a fucking rock when I haven't played games no one fucking plays?
Once again, I am talking about how well known these games are, which both games are pretty well known. Just cause you've never heard of them doesn't mean they don't exist.
Once again, I never stated that. Secondly, for once, you actually were talking about how well known they were there, but if you're trying to say I live under a rock because I haven't heard of a game that 50 people play on average, that's some major copium right there.
I also love how you go with the narrative that since games like Proteus and Dusk have such low player counts, then that means nobody knows what those games are. When you look at the sales for both games, they've sold pretty well. Dusk got 8,000 pre-orders.
A whole 8,000. Wow, surely spectacular. Also, doesn't it kind of make it more sad that the game got 8,000 pre-orders and came nowhere close to that peak player count at launch?
Sold 22,000 copies during early access, and eventually sold an additional 40,000 copies afterwards. And copies of Dusk are still being sold to this day.
Imagine having all those sales, but your game not even getting 1,000 players at peak.
All of those sales were literally in the first month of it being a thing. Mind you, this is most likely the reason why Dusk got ported to the Nintendo Switch, which also has its own exclusive endless stage.
You know, that's cool and all, but when the fuck did I ask?
Meanwhile, Proteus sold 153,000 copies. Both of these games, by the way, are part of the indie scene, and the fact they sold this much should count as proof that this genre still has a massive audience.
You see, those sales are, I guess, relatively impressive depending on what you're comparing it to, but the player counts thereafter, bro, those are far from impressive. And sales really do not matter at the end of the day, at least when it comes to the relevancy of something, because something can sell really fucking well, and then turn out to be absolute dog shit, or, in this case, irrelevant right after launch.
This tells me that despite this narrative you and Actman want to create that these arena shooters are irrelevant,
Multiplayer arena shooters are relevant, but keep going.
And that you're somehow not living under a rock, the arena shooter genre still has a market, and there's clearly a profit off of that market. Conflating that with how low the current player bases are is utterly moronic.
Bro, I really don't care how many copies the game sold. The real determining factor whether a game is popular or not is how many people are playing the game, because you know, it is a video game, and video games are meant to be played. So even if a game sold really well, if no one's playing it, who fucking cares?
Because Proteus and Dusk, well, more so Dusk, are pretty good examples of competent arena shooters that were made recently. Especially Dusk. Dusk is extremely popular.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. Doesn't matter how much you want to conflate active player base with literally the entire New Blood community, where its Discord server has over 80,000 members. Oh, and the cherry on top, are we just gonna ignore the 16,000 reviews on Steam, which are mostly positive? But sure, go off, Queen.
I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told Thunderstruck. Loud doesn't equal funny. And if you think that is, then you're a sped. There's no arguing against that. But back to what you were saying, the active player count of a game has a huge determining factor over whether the game is popular or not. And the fact that you were trying to say that it isn't is completely mind-boggling to me. It's a video game. Video games are meant to be played. If no one's playing them, then the game's irrelevant.
Let me check the Dusk concurrent player count. 229 blank 17 minutes ago, 238 24-hour peak, all-time peak 557.
This is 4K! How did they get you at 4K?
Yes, bravo. You still missed the point, retard. You act like the all-time peak is every single player that has ever played the game.
No, but that is telling you the peak amount of players that have ever played that game at one given time. And if a game can't even get 1,000 players, dude, the game's irrelevant. I'm sorry you can't cope with the fact that that's the case, but if a game can't even get 1,000 players, the game is basically irrelevant as soon as it comes out. Especially in the case of a multiplayer game. I know Dusk has a single player, but my entire argument is about multiplayer games. And if a game can't even get 1,000 players for its multiplayer, bro, that multiplayer is fucking dead.
Regardless, I'm not just talking about the active player base. And as you can see, Krilix conveniently cut off something else I said afterwards in order to gain an imaginary W. So let's hear some of the context that Krilix conveniently cut out. Yeah, it is dead, pretty much. Not dead, but it's got a pretty small constant player base here. But despite that, a lot of people know what Dusk is.
By you including that quote-unquote context, you made yourself look more fucking stupid. You're really out here trying to say that a game that has multiplayer can't even get 500 players on the regular is not dead. You literally just made yourself look more fucking stupid.
The brand new norm of underground commentary channels. Cut out important context in order to make someone bigger look bad so that they can claim an imaginary win over you. Oh wait, they already do that, so Krilix may as well jump into the boat of sewer goblins on YouTube.
Hey, you can try and claim that all you want, even though that's not what I did. You literally just saw it, but at least I'm not out here trying to say that you said things that you clearly did not say, you know, like what you're doing with me. And dude, I really couldn't give a shit how many subs you have or how big your audience is. If you would have had 1 sub or 1,000,000 subs, I would have made these same fucking statements towards you. It's always funny how when you make a video on a YouTuber bigger than you, you're clout chasing, and when you make a video on a YouTuber smaller than you, well, you're just punching down. There's nothing you could ever do to satisfy these retards.
He's talking about multiplayer arena shooters, dumbass. No one has made a good arena shooter that is multiplayer as of
Example?
Do you realize what you just asked me? You asked me to provide an example of there being no good popular arena shooters that are multiplayer.
Nope, wrong again. Yet another case of Krilix cutting out important context, but this time he's doing this in order to make a straw man argument.
No, I'm not. I stated that there has been no good arena shooters that have been multiplayer as of recent, and you said example. Where the fuck is the cut context there? You literally asked me to provide an example of something not existing. I'm sorry that you looked like a fucking dumbass in there, but you're not lying your way through this.
Claiming that I am asking for an example over nothing, and he only responds to the rest of my question right afterwards, so this section did not need to exist.
If we're being honest, none of our videos actually needed to exist.
So, what classifies as a good arena shooter to you?
Well, Nier, to answer your question, it's a very, very simple answer. One that I have fun in.
My brother in Christ.
I'm gonna be completely honest, out of all of my responses, that was the one I expected the least amount of rage against. Video games are completely subjective. Would I find a game to be good? Maybe the shittiest game in the world to another person. For example, Halo 5. I was trying to show you that a game being good was completely subjective, but apparently that flew over your head.
You play Destiny. Your opinion on what's considered fun to you was already disregarded the moment I even booted up your previous video.
First of all, okay, I'm gonna try and understand what you said here. I could be wrong on this completely, and if I am, apologize, whatever. But my opinion on a game being fun is completely invalid because I like a different game. Okay, games being fun is completely subjective, but go off, I guess. Secondly, if my opinion is completely worthless to you, why the fuck did you even ask for it in the first place, you retard?
Let's get that out of the way. What was the last arena shooter to you that was good? What do you define as a good arena shooter as of recent? What is the most recent good arena shooter that you can think of right now, Krilix?
Also, another really simple answer. We're talking about multiplayer arena shooters, which I assume you are. That would be Halo 5, which released in 2015, 8 years ago.
And just like that, your credibility and stance regarding the arena shooter genre plummets into the abyss. If you really think that Halo 5 was the last competent arena shooter ever made, then you truly are living under a rock.
No. Games can be competent and be irrelevant. I'm sure Dusk and Proteus are good games, but I'm not playing the multiplayer because they have almost no one playing them. That doesn't mean they're not good games. Halo 5, I said, was the last good, popular multiplayer game, at least when it comes to arena shooters. And how much you want to bet he's just saying Halo 5 is shit just so he can appeal to his audience? I wonder what his actual arguments are for Halo 5 being shit.
This also contradicts what you said in your response to Thunderstruck 115, where you said that Doom Eternal is a good arena shooter.
You seem to be sorely mistaken, because I never said Doom Eternal's multiplayer was good. I said the single player was good, but never once did I claim the multiplayer was good. I don't like battle mode, so point null and void there.
Since Thunderstruck brought up examples to prove that the genre is still going. So which one is it, Krilix? Was Halo 5 the last good arena shooter, or was Doom Eternal the last good arena shooter?
We're talking about multiplayer here, so yeah, it was Halo 5. I honestly have not met a single person who likes Doom Eternal's multiplayer.
And another thing, it really feels like you value your opinion regarding certain games above others.
Yeah, I do value my opinion over subjective video games above anyone else's, because the only thing that matters is if I'm having fun or not. Why should I give a shit about some random dude's opinion on the internet over a fucking video game?
Which is further proof that you have a superiority complex.
No, I just don't give a fuck about your opinion.
Especially since you claimed that nobody cares about games like Dusk or Proteus, despite the large amount of success both games have had. And before you tell me that good sales doesn't equal good game, which is a fair argument, both games are highly acclaimed as well, both by Steam reviewers and critics.
I never tried claiming Dusk and Proteus weren't good games. I just said they weren't popular. Dusk and Proteus could very well be good games, but then again, I'm never gonna find that out because multiplayers are dead as shit.
You tell me. Quake Champions? That was 2017. You want to know a really good arena shooter that came after Quake Champions? Dusk, Proteus.
Bro, I'm not touching Proteus.
Your loss, cause unlike you, I know what good arena shooters look like, and I play them. I'm not stuck in the past thinking Halo 5 was the last good one. You can keep coping on that one. It's also ironic coming from you, a self-proclaimed arena shooter fan. But again, you're lost, dude.
You can't even get 50 players into that game for multiplayer. And Dusk, once again, multiplayer's dead as fuck.
Okay, let's twist the argument you made earlier when you criticized me for bringing up Unreal Tournament and Quake despite not playing them. How do you know that the multiplayer in Dusk is dead?
Because I looked at the fucking Steam charts, dipshit. That is like the easiest way to tell if a game is alive or dead or not, is look how many people are fucking playing it.
You've never played them, therefore you have no say on the matter. You can bring up Steam statistics all you like, but it's not going to be nearly enough to convince me that the arena shooter genre is no longer cared about when there is very clearly an audience for it. You do know for the all-time peak on Steam charts, that's just the highest amount of players the game's gotten in one moment, right?
Oh, wait, really? Bro, I could never have fucking guessed that. You know, that was completely lost on me.
Meanwhile, with the 24-hour peak and last played number of minutes ago, it could just be completely different players at any time. So taking that into consideration, there's most likely a lot more players out there than you think.
You're really gonna try and sit here and say that the daily player count could be completely different and new players each day? Really? That's fucking pathetic.
What's another good one? Shit, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Is it really on the tip of your tongue? Because I'm more inclined to believe that you just can't think of any more examples.
Okay, I'll admit, I couldn't remember what else was there to count as an arena shooter that came out after Quake Champions. I thought about adding in Ultra Kill and a Medieval into the equation, but neither of those games are considered arena shooters. But at least I came up with good examples like Dusk and Proteus. Meanwhile, your dumbass thinks Halo 5 was the last competent arena shooter ever made.
Correction, last competent popular arena shooter that I enjoyed that was ever made.
Also, go ahead and ignore Doom 2016, which came out a year after Halo 5.
But first of all, Doom 2016's multiplayer was mid as fuck. Second of all, I don't count that as an arena shooter. And just to get it out of the way now, I know I've never stated this before, but my requirements to be an arena shooter is a relatively small map, relatively fast movement speed or gameplay, and most importantly, even starts, which Doom 2016 doesn't have.
I'm thinking of a New Blood title. It's not a Medieval. A Medieval's not one. Yeah, we can count Halo. We can count Halo as one. Halo Infinite.
You can't be serious right now. Halo Infinite was anything but competent at launch.
Really?
Please do not tell me you're actually about to try and defend Halo Infinite's launch state. God, please, someone help this man.
It may have had a rocky launch, but if I recall, the most positive thing I've heard about Halo Infinite, which also comes from me by the way, of all people, that the strongest foundation Halo Infinite had was its gameplay.
Yeah, and that's about the only leg Halo Infinite had to stand on. There was no fucking content whatsoever. You couldn't even pick if you wanted to play Slayer or not, and we still don't have game modes like Riftball or Infection.
The movement was the most fluid in any Halo game to the point that that's where the stupid sprint debate was settled.
Personally, I'd argue that Halo 5's movement was more fluid and enjoyable, but to each their own, I guess.
The gunplay was fantastic, the maps were good, the grappling hook added a lot more flavor to the combat since it enhanced movement.
Halo 5 also enhanced movement. You know, Halo 5's thruster is literally in Halo Infinite as a pickup.
And made it so that you could hijack vehicles.
Dude, hijacking has been a thing in Halo since Halo 2. Halo Infinite did not anywhere at all introduce hijacking into fucking Halo.
And made it so that you could hijack vehicles. Pretty much the gist with how Halo Infinite was received was that the gameplay was critically acclaimed as one of the best gameplays in a Halo game, but everything else surrounding it was critically negative.
You know, pretty much every single thing except the way the guns worked and the movement felt. The matchmaking was shit, the playlists were shit, the fact you couldn't pick a mode was shit, the low amount of maps was shit, the connection issues were shit, the performance issues on PC were fucking shit. You know, everything but the movement and gunplay. The game launched with 6 maps and it took them over a fucking year to add one singular gun.
False information has been detected. Halo Infinite launched with 10 maps.
I thought you could understand the fact that I was talking about the arena shooter side of Halo. I would not count Big Team Battle as the arena shooter aspect of Halo, considering it's a massive fucking map. If you really want to get technical, yes, I missed one fucking map for the arena shooter side. There was 7, not 6. My fucking bad.
3 of them were Big Team Battle maps, the rest were arena maps. Also, I know he's talking about the launch state, but they added in 4 more maps than just those 10.
And a couple of those maps, they couldn't even make them fucking selves. They had to have other people, foragers specifically, to make those maps. That's how incompetent 343 is with Halo Infinite.
It's not really a good amount added, but it is something.
So you yourself even admit that that's not a good amount, so why the fuck are you even trying to defend it? That has already been in previous Halo games, might I add. Not to mention the fact that you couldn't even pick what mode you wanted to play when the game launched, and we still don't have basic ass game modes like Riftball or Infection.
Nothing about this has anything to do with Halo Infinite Infinite being an arena shooter or not, by the way.
I didn't say it did, simply showing the incompetence of 343.
Okay, dude, if you're gonna be responding to my livestream, at least do us a favor and cut out the dead air.
That was 1 whole second. I'm sorry your sped ass needs to be constantly listening to something.
So how is GoldenEye any different on how it plays compared to Doom or Quake?
Holy shit, your intelligence level is fucking mind-blowing. What kind of knuckle-dragging retard actually asks that question?
Wow, what an insightful response, Krilix. Don't even answer the question. Just continue to act like the average douchebag that most likely got shoved into lockers in middle school and have started projecting their shitty days onto others ever since.
Sounds like someone speaking from experience. But no, I didn't feel that I had to answer it because it's such an easy question to fucking answer that I assumed someone with basic intelligence would be able to answer it from themselves. You know, especially someone that plays arena shooters.
I will ask the question again, and this time with more context that you decided to cut out because you lack the balls to make a proper coherent argument. How is GoldenEye any different on how it plays compared to Doom or Quake? It's not really different when you consider the incredibly outdated controls on GoldenEye. It's not really that different. So I don't know where Actman's coming from with that.
Once again, because you decided to add the quote-unquote excluded context, you made yourself look more fucking retarded. How do you keep doing this? You said Doom and GoldenEye aren't very different from their gameplay because they have old control schemes. That's fucking stupid.
Debate has been had over whether Halo is an arena shooter or not. Well, I think it's much more similar to this older genre of game than something like Call of Duty. Anyone who's played Quake or Doom will tell you, fuck no, Halo isn't an arena shooter. Movement is much.
Wow, Krilix. Nice obvious cut there. You not gonna address this?
Are you really gonna try and quote-unquote expose me for that cut? It's the same shit this one fucking sped tried doing. Y'all ready to see this absolute expose moment here?
Fuck no, Halo isn't an arena shooter.
Once again, I must point out, where the fuck did the thread go? But anyways, in my joke comment, as a Halo and Quake player, Halo is an arena shooter. Try to argue against that, Actman.
One, I already addressed that with you in the comment section. Two, I fucking agree with you, so why would I try and say something about it? What, does little Nier over there need a reassurance that his opinions are the right ones?
Which, by the way, that was a joke comment I left on his video on Thunderstruck 115, and he agreed with me that Halo is in fact an arena shooter. And apparently Halo Infinite is not considered a competent arena shooter in his eyes because of how it launched.
I don't understand how that's such a controversial statement, but okay.
Despite how highly acclaimed the gameplay was despite everything else around it. The irony, man, you love to see it.
If the gameplay is good but there's no content to fucking play on the game, then I'm not gonna continue playing the game. It's that fucking simple. Also, if a game has no content, I consider that to be a bad game.
Movement is much slower, you can only carry 2 weapons, not to mention melee and grenades weren't treated as their own weapons on a dial, regenerating health, etc. Alright, I want everyone to keep this clip in mind. Actman is saying that Halo isn't an arena shooter.
Dude, were you fucking dropped on your head as a child? Where did he state that he believes that Halo is not an arena shooter? If you actually listen to what he fucking said, he's talking about the people who primarily play Doom and Quake.
Okay, I need to get this out of the way and drill in as much as I can on just how oblivious and retarded Krilix is. Actman said verbatim,
Fuck no, Halo isn't an arena shooter.
Weren't you literally shitting on me earlier for quote-unquote cutting clips out of context? Because that's not the only thing the Actman said, and you and I both know that, but you still put that clip in there. Here's the full context.
Now, some debate has been had over whether Halo is an arena shooter or not. Well, I think it's much more similar to this older genre of game than something like Call of Duty. Anyone who's played Quake or Doom will tell you, fuck no, Halo isn't an arena shooter.
and he, in his own video, continues to run with this narrative that this is backed up by supposed Doom and Quake players, and later on in his video says,
The release of COD 4 and Halo 3 pretty much sealed the fate of arena shooters and denied their future relevance in gaming. If you weren't willing to adapt, you weren't going to succeed.
and yet despite all of these concrete details that have been mentioned numerous times, both by me and Thunderstruck, Krilix is still gonna try and gaslight us into thinking we misinterpreted the Actman's point.
You know, Halo can still be an arena shooter, but can still contribute to the downfall of more traditional arena shooters. You know that's possible, right? Just making sure, you know, after the amount of times you've completely misinterpreted what I've said in this video, I'm really starting to question your basic comprehension skills.
You really cannot make this shit up. Even Under the Mayo wasn't this disingenuous when talking about Ultra Kill.
So what about that makes it so that he isn't claiming that Halo isn't an arena shooter?
I don't know. Maybe the fact he didn't fucking say it?
I don't know. I think he objectively said it. Wanna hear it again?
Fuck no, Halo isn't an arena shooter.
Once again, you're trying to shit on me for cutting clips, but you're being way more disingenuous here than I could ever be in this fucking video. I have yet to cut a clip and leave it out of context. You, on the other hand, left a big chunk of context out of there. God, and I thought you'd actually start thinking before you spoke, after that Discord drama video made on Griffin.
Bro, the amount of times you project your insecurities onto me is too much. Please stop. But other than that, you gotta love how one of the most common things that sewer goblins on YouTube like Krilix here do when it comes to YouTube drama is bring up something completely irrelevant to the conversation in order to try and destroy your credibility.
Oh, you mean things irrelevant to the conversation like you accusing me of being an alcoholic, right? Pretty hypocritical if you ask me. Also, to address your point, I literally was stating that after X situation you got yourself in, I thought you would think more. The fact that this is triggering you this much is fucking pathetic.
Like, this is the most common ad hominem that I've ever encountered, and every time someone does it, it just gets funnier every time. Here's a community post I made a year ago about it, and I still stand by it to this day, and it can be applied to any context when someone just loves to bring it up as some sort of silver bullet.
To all the fanboys that like to bring up the Griffin Discord drama, all because I criticized him over a video game. An orangutan with Down syndrome has more logic than you. This tells me that you have absolutely no argument about the current topic, so you have to resort to bringing up irrelevant shit just so you can try to invalidate my points. That's not how this works. I am very aware that what I did back then was incredibly stupid, and I was pretty much a cancel culture snowflake back then. But if you take a look at this entire channel, you can see how I evolved. I learned from my mistakes, and now I'm closer to 1K than ever before. So if that's all you can come up with in order to invalidate my video, then that means I won. Go cry to Griffin, you little sissies.
That has gotta be the weakest insult I've ever fucking heard. Also, that doesn't apply to me because that's not the only thing I'm using to discredit you. Literally, the entire video is me discrediting you, so your entire point here is null and void.
And aside from many visual upgrades, there hadn't been much that changed. But if you look at arena shooters nowadays, they have changed. They were able to adapt, and therefore they have been able to be successful.
No, the core gameplay of arena shooters is still very much the same. You have no weapons. Yeah, the core gameplay. But what about the innovations that games like Ultra Kill made? Even though that's kind of conflating arena shooters with boomer shooters in general, doesn't mean that they're the exact same game. Sure, the core gameplay is there, it's the same, but different arena shooters or different boomer shooters have innovative mechanics.
Make sure y'all prepare yourselves for the absolute mental midgetry about to take place here.
Mental midgetry? Ho ho ho.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Ultra Kill has the marksman pistol. You flip a coin, you shoot it, it reflects to a nearby enemy, and it targets its weak spots.
How is that innovative?
Okay, Krilix, can you name me one game that came before Ultra Kill that came up with this mechanic? Go ahead, I'll wait.
You know, for someone that loves to harp on me for cutting someone off, you literally would have heard me say that that is not an innovation, that is simply a gimmick. An innovation would be like Apex Legends adding respawns to battle royales. Like, that completely changed how you played the game. You flipping a coin to hit a weak spot instead of directly shooting it with a ballista is not a fucking innovation. Cope and seethe. That is more of a gimmick or a quirk about the game. That's not fucking innovative.
Ah, so when I bring up proper examples of a game that innovates on the arena shooter / boomer shooter genre, you just downplay it as just a gimmick.
Because that's exactly what it is. I wasn't downplaying it. You were overplaying it. It's literally just shooting a weak point with a ballista with extra steps, like I said.
Once again, drilling into the irony of this guy supposedly being an arena shooter fan.
Ah, yes, because I'm going to have to show proof of me being an arena shooter fan. Yeah, get your gatekeeping ass out of here. And before you say I'm strawmanning and that you never really said that, I know you didn't directly say that. However, you implied that I was not a quote-unquote real arena shooter fan because I disagreed with you. It's just like shooting a demon's weak point with a ballista with extra fucking steps.
That literally does not disprove of it being an innovation on the arena shooter genre.
All I gotta say is that you got really low standards for what's innovative.
Proteus. Every single weapon has an alt fire.
How is Proteus the one that innovated on that?
Because it takes its own spin on Doom Eternal's alt fires.
And yet you neglect to provide any actual examples.
I think you need a dictionary so that you can find out what the word innovation means.
Innovation, a product or idea featuring new methods, advanced and original. Shooting a coin in the air is original, I'll give you that, but it's not advanced at fucking all. And Proteus's alternate fires, well, that's not original, and I have yet to see any examples how it's advanced.
And yes, I'm gonna insult you back.
Bro, you didn't have to say that. You already made that clear by insulting me. Also, okay, is that supposed to be like some sort of gotcha moment?
You know, if you're gonna be a smug douchebag, then I figure I can be one right back at you.
Well, you're failing hard, you know. From someone who's part of the commentary community, I really expected better insults, but it is what it is, I guess.
And it has its own map editor, where you can create custom levels, even for the multiplayer.
I hate to break it to you, but Halo 3 did that 13 years before Proteus came out.
Proteus's level editor is fucking leagues ahead of Halo 3's Forge.
I would hope so, considering Halo 3 came out in 2007 and Proteus came out in 2022. If it wasn't leagues ahead of Halo 3's, that would be a bit concerning. Literally every mainline Halo game after Halo 3 had a Forge. Not to mention Doom 2016 Snap Map was actually pretty cool. And if you want to get technical, you could include Battlefield 2042's Portal, even though you couldn't really edit the maps, but you could significantly change how the game was played.
But I don't expect you to know that, considering earlier, you, the self-proclaimed arena shooter fan, do not want to give Proteus a shot.
Are you really out here gonna try and say that I'm, quote, not a real arena shooter fan because I don't play Proteus? I'm not trying to play a multiplayer that gets 50 players on average.
Shooter fan, do not want to give Proteus a shot. We can also bring up Doom 2016 Snap Map, which is also a much better level editor than Halo 3's Forge.
You're so stupid that you don't even realize that you just disproved your argument that Proteus is the one who innovated with a level editor.
Textbook definition of an armchair pseudo-intellectual, downplaying a renowned feature in a game just because he doesn't like it.
When did I say I didn't like level editors? Unless you're talking about me not liking the game Proteus. I don't like nor dislike the game. I just don't want to play a dead-ass game. That's all I'm saying. And these guys are trying to say I did no fucking research.
Yeah, cause you didn't. You literally admitted to it. Get off your high horse, you fucking douchebag.
I was literally pointing at your hypocrisy and it literally flew right over your head. Since I know you're gonna end up asking, well, how did I point out your hypocrisy? Well, you stated that I did no research, which I could have done more research, but the quote-unquote research you were telling me to do would not have changed my opinion over the video. But I simply showed how you did no research either when you tried claiming that Proteus is the one that tried innovating with the level editor, when it clearly was not.
Dusk. You can do front flips and back flips in Dusk. Self-proclaimed arena shooter fan, by the way, downplays the concept of doing flips in an arena shooter.
Dude, it's a different style of jump. I don't understand what was so innovative about that.
Which by itself makes it possible to kill enemy players upside down. Really gotta love the irony here.
Or alternatively, you could simply look down when you jump over a player. Revolutionary concept, I know.
Titanfall 2, you had the new grappling hook mechanic that very much increased the movement speed of the game.
I thought we were talking about arena shooters. Where the fuck did Titanfall 2 come from? And if you're really out here trying to call Titanfall 2 an arena shooter, then you better be calling Call of Duty an arena shooter.
Okay, Krilix, tell me how Titanfall 2 is not an arena shooter. What factors of the game arbitrarily separate itself from the genre?
I don't understand why you're asking this, considering I literally answered it later in the video. I answered your question before you even recorded this response.
Now granted, Titanfall 2 is not a traditional arena shooter like he loves to claim that I'm saying.
You know, I completely forgot about the strawman counter, but we're bringing it back. I never once said that you were claiming Titanfall 2 is an arena shooter. I said it's nothing like an arena shooter whatsoever. I didn't just say it wasn't a traditional arena shooter. I said it wasn't an arena shooter at all. It's ironic how you're trying to claim that I'm strawmanning.
But there are arena shooter qualities within it. That's the entire point I'm trying to make.
You know, like movement speed go burr and lots of gun. Yeah, because those are totally arena shooter qualities. You know, it's not like half the shooters in the fucking world have those qualities. And for those of you trying to say I'm leaving things out of context, those are the only two qualities he gives for Titanfall 2 being an arena shooter. But with that being said, we have come to the end of part 1 of 2 of this magnificent drama we're having here. Now, I won't keep this outro long as this video has been long enough already, but part 2 will be coming out, hopefully, if things go well, a week after this one. And if part 2 sounds like it's meant to be in the same video as part 1, that's because that was the original plan, and then I realized it was going to be 2 fucking hours long, so I decided to split it up in between 2 videos. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. It really does mean a lot to me, especially on these long ass videos. And you know, if you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. And if you disliked it, leave a dislike. And if you want to see more of this kind of content in the future, maybe even go ahead and subscribe. But at the end of the day, all that shit is optional. I hope you'll have a wonderful day or night whenever you may be watching this, and hopefully I'll see y'all next time. Later.